The discussions between St. Martin, UNOPS, and BZK focus on the specific needs of the detention system on St. Martin, the critical aspects of the judicial chain, and the steps that need to be taken to build a new prison. On December 7, 2022, the agreement for Phase 1 of the project were signed between the aforementioned parties. Phase 1 of the project, with a duration of 20 months, started in April of 2023 and concerns the design and procurement of a sustainable and effective long-term facility which meets international human rights standards and facilitates reintegration of offenders back into society. Currently, the UNOPS project team is in the design phase and have conceptualized the first draft of the design, which you will hear more about in the presentation. Procurement for the construction of the new facility is scheduled to start in June of this year, 2024. Prior to the start of Phase 2 of the project, the agreement for Phase 2 must be signed by all parties being St. Martin, the Netherlands, and UNOPS. A requirement for signing and engaging in Phase 2 of the project is that the funds are readily available from both financing partners. The investment to the project from St. Martin's side is dependent on approval of the 2024 national budget, with the amount taken up in CAPEX 2024. From the outset of the discussions, my guiding principle has been clear. St. Martin must build a detention facility that we can afford while also meeting all international humanitarian standards. It's about ensuring a safe and humane environment for both inmates and staff. The commitment remains unwavering. I'm able to invite Mr. William Gonzalez, the head of UNOPS program, to be able to give the presentation that we have prepared for you today.
And be granted this opportunity to provide you with a status update of the progress that has been made on this project since UNOPS was commissioned to support St. Martin with strengthening its justice sector, thus contributing to Sustainable Development Goals number 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. I would like to begin by confirming that the project implementation is on track with respect to the initial planning. All planned activities have been successfully completed to the highest standards of quality, achieving significant savings which will be reprogrammed for the construction of the new Pointe Blanche facility. In October 2023, the prison profile was finalized based on a 40 years projection of future requirements for detention in St. Martin. This important achievement results from a collaborative effort with contributions from a wide variety of stakeholders, all connected to the wider justice chain. The project is currently in the design phase to be finalized by June 2024. You can witness here the first sketches. The deliverables will meet the highest standards in terms of design for detention facilities, in line with the recommendations from the European Committee for the Prevention of Torture and Inhuman or Degrading Treatment or Punishment, in short, the CPT, the Nelson Mandela rules for the treatment of prisoners, and all relevant international standards for the protection of human rights in line with our mandate as a United Nations agency. All analysis at this stage of the project development are confirming that the construction of a new, fully functional, sustainable, climate-resilient facility in Pointe Blanche is both technically and financially viable with respect to the requirements consolidated in the prison profile and the business case. We have initiated our outreach campaign to service providers both nationally and internationally. Our first workshop that took place on February the 16th witnessed the promising participation of over 15 companies, and our procurement experts are working to secure the participation of the best quality suppliers moving ahead. Looking forward, we will begin procurement activities for the construction of the new facilities in April 2024, with the objective of initiating works in the first quarter of 2025 to achieve fully operational first phase of the new facility by the end of 2026. In order to maintain this timeline, the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of the Interior and Kingdom Relations of the Netherlands, and UNOPS are working on an amendment to the current Memorandum of Understanding to be signed following the approval of the St. Martin National Budget 2024.
In which phase of the project are we currently? I understood that we were in phase 1, but I just wanted that to be confirmed. If we are in phase 1, based on the project board, has it been established already? Based on the articles that I have read, I understood that there will be a prison, the finalization of the prison would be in 2028. Based on the presentation, I understood that we are still on schedule. So can it be confirmed that the finalization will be in 2028? And in connection to the question of MP Arundel, the transitional detention facility, where will that be? And will that facility also be that also humane and resilient accommodation for the prisoners? And how long will they be housed in that transition facility? What will be the new capacity of the prison? Because as we all know, currently it's 80. So what will be the capacity of the new prison? I understood and I've seen online that, and it was also mentioned in the presentation, that there are different projects and that there was a deadline on the 23rd of February for those projects, for companies to also be involved, local and also international companies to be involved in the building of the prison. So I would like to know how much companies have signed up for that market study and how much local companies have signed up. And in the hiring process of those companies, has it also been thought of to create projects that will also give the inmates the opportunity to participate in those projects? And I'm asking that question because I have seen that there's difficulty in creating employment for inmates and ex-inmates, and to find a job is very difficult. So has it also been thought about by UNOPS and the ministry to maybe create employment within those projects so that the inmates can also participate in the building of the prison? And I'm not talking about security-wise or establishing the groundwork, but within the prison there are severe work that needs to be done. So maybe it's an idea to also look into that if that hasn't been done yet, maybe in connection with a local company or an international company on the island, so that the inmates can also learn a trade, which then eventually can ensure that they have a job availability when they will be released and create job options. So I would like to know if that has been thought about as well. I don't know if I asked that, but how much companies have applied for that project, seeing that the deadline was the 23rd of February? Has that deadline been extended or is it final? Who has been involved in the designing of the project? I read that there were different stakeholders involved, but I haven't read in the articles, and you can correct, it can be corrected if I didn't see the information, Madam Chair, but in connection to the Inmates Association, for example, has it been asked what is missing currently in the prison, what the inmates are in need of to feel safe and create a humane prison facility, seeing that they are the ones that have been incarcerated? So has that market study taken place to involve the Inmates Association? If not, will that also take place? Also, based on the articles, I have seen that, for example, the prosecutor office and as well the court of first instance, and other stakeholders have been involved. But is there a reason why, for example, the Bar Association have not been involved, seeing that they, especially the ones who practice criminal law, are in the prison on a daily basis? So maybe they can also give input. I think that was also mentioned in the report from Rechtshandhaving. So if that didn't take place as yet, if the Bar Association on St. Martin can also give input in the design of the prison, and maybe there are certain things missing, for example, a panic button or whatsoever, seeing that we at this moment don't, in the prison, I'm aware that there's no panic button for emergencies. So it's also a question. Then, in connection to Miss Lali Center, the juvenile prison, will UNOPS also have involvement in this Miss Lali Center, seeing that the Miss Lali Center also needs improvement? What is the plan with the Miss Lali Center? Let me see. In connection to the new facility, what kind of workspaces? I saw the first plattegrond. I can't find the translation of plattegrond at this moment, but floor plan. Thank you, MP. I saw the first floor plan, and I was wondering what kind of workspaces will be created. Is there, for example, possibility of agriculture for the inmates? Has it been considered? Also, will there be a psychological department as well? Will there be a department for the young adults? Because at this moment, I believe all the inmates are incarcerated, not based on age level, but based on different areas of neighborhood, seeing the safety. So I was wondering if that will also be considered, that the young adults between 18 and 21 year old will be housed separate from the older detainees. Will there also be a separation in the pretrial detainees and the one that have been sentenced already? So that's a question as well. And the time frame, I don't know if I asked that already, but if I did not, what will be the time frame in which the detainees will be housed in the temporary facility?
RBC, we know the roles you have to play can change quickly. Whether it's a homeowner, a new parent, today's head chef, salesperson of the month, or the family chauffeur. Whatever life asks you to be, RBC is a bank for all of you.
Social and health insurances. Your social and health insurances.
Are you SZV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SZV is cardless. Request your My SZV account today and enter the virtual office of SZV. Go to szv.sx and sign up now.
SZV, yeah. Your social and health insurances.
The second thing we noticed was the support we got. We were really impressed by the need people feel to do something about their own heritage and the support they gave us to find those old records. Even if we came, for example, very totally unexpected to a place or to a church or to an organization, people were always friendly, willing to cooperate, to think about this. And I think that's a real compliment to the people in St. Martin. This, for example, is at the museum. Well, the third thing we realized was that the real problem here is there is a lot, but it's spread out to all organizations and it's not accessible to the public at the moment. Even the government archives are not accessible to the public because there's no reading room, there's no place where people can go to. But also, for example, old notary records or old other types of public records are simply not available. Normally they should be, but there's no archive organization. It's hard to get at them, and you actually have to interrupt the normal working of people to get to them. And that's of course very problematic, and people never do that. So the archives are not yet accessible to the public, and that is a real problem for St. Martin. There's another problem too, and we talked to a lot of organizations, both in government, but also other organizations as well, like the cadastre or the notaries. And they all end up with a lot of paper at home, because there's a pressing need for an archive organization and also for a specialist who can tell what should we actually keep, what can we throw away, what's relevant for us and what is not. The end is that paper piles up, and a lot of government departments end up with rooms full of paper, but they cannot do anything with it because they don't know how to handle that. And what happens then is, of course, that people either store it in places that are not sufficient, and things are going missing because of mold, because of fire, because of storms, or they start throwing things away, even the things they should have kept. And this is an example. It's not thrown away. Actually, very much love and attention is given to preserve it, but it's part of what we call the census archive. So these are birth certificates and records, and they always are made in two different records. So every birth is mentioned to two records. The reason for this, of course, that you want to preserve one in case the other one would be lost. But nowadays they are piled up in the census office and they're still in the same place, because since 2010 no records were replaced to what was then the archive of the Netherlands Antilles in Curaçao. So there's a problem there and they don't know how to solve it. And we realized, but that's our opinion, or more specifically it's my opinion, St. Martin really needs a national archive. This problem, what we showed you, can only be solved here by creating a national archive with a staff who can handle this sort of material, who can advise both the government and organizations to really do something about this, really safeguard this historical document.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah. Your social
RBC, we know the roles you have to play can change quickly. Whether it's a homeowner, a new parent, today's head chef, salesperson of the month, or the family chauffeur. Whatever life asks you to be, RBC is a bank for all of you.
So ecodynamics combines climate, ecology, demography, mobility, and exchange. And archaeological research is all about that, because we want to see how people lived in the past, which resources were available to them, and how they interacted not only with their resources, but also their neighboring islands and their family ties, where their family ties to the mainland. So it makes it possible to look at life from the past, but in a perspective of living, of life, and how that happened. You know, because a lot of times we don't consider life as an expression of life. Aruba, being a very dry island nowadays, made me always think about that. And I had some conversations in the beginning there where people would tell me about a specific area in the island which they had very fond memories of abundance, of happiness, of family ties. But when I would be looking at it, I would just see bare rock. You know, so that made me realize, like, okay, my perspective of something is not necessarily what is possible or what the possibilities were, you know, when you see that. So this is my theoretical framework. So I've been talking about the natural system a lot, but it's basically all the characteristics and you could say the interlinked parts which are composed by the physical geography, which makes the soil and the landscape topography. Then we have the part of the water and the water resources, and that is affected by the climate through rain, temperature, and wind, which also provides biomes, which is resources, both on land and marine environments. Then we have the variations, the climatic variations that contribute to the hazards such as hurricane, drought, flooding, and sea level rise. These all together provide natural resources and conditions of life on a specific island. I focus on Aruba, but I think this is applicable to all islands in the region. And these natural resources is what decide the settlement where people settle, because we see that people settled in the most best locations that provided resources for their survival. This then also is related to the water, because people wanted to settle in the good places where there was water resources available, and which also affected the diet, because the conditions affected what was possible and what was available also. This then furthermore affected the demography, because the people were reliant on what the natural system could provide, the resources, so that dictated where people lived, how many people lived on the island, and also it dictated how people functioned together. Nowadays, especially, I see recently with the Apple Pro Vision, people can just put it on and be like, you know, so you don't need to have that interaction anymore. But in the past, your life depended on interaction and also on having a community which could help each other to obtain their resources.